And welcome into the latest edition of Believe in Steelers on the Believe Network, everybody. The Pittsburgh Steelers put on pads, albeit a day later. Thunderstorms in the area rained it out on Tuesday, but a nice mid-90s heat index in Latrobe on Wednesday is exactly what the doctor ordered for Mike Tomlin and co. Jarrett Bailey here with you as always, and joining me today to break down the first day of pads for the Steelers, one of the smartest men in all of NFL media, former NFL offensive lineman Brian Baldinger. Baldy, it's good to see you. How are you?
Jared, I'm good, man. I'm just getting out of Latrobe myself right now, heading to Canton for some of the festivities tomorrow and to kick off the season. But anytime I come to Latrobe, I'm from Pittsburgh. Anytime I come out to Latrobe, I know Mike Tomlin is going to let everybody know that he's a dinosaur. This is kind of old school football. He prides himself in that. Even Aaron Rodgers was like, he couldn't remember the last year where he saw a team tackling running backs to the ground. And
Right.
he got a chance to feel that and experience it today.
As a former offensive lineman, tell me about just the difference it makes to go from, walk through basically in shorts and whatnot, and then putting on the pads for the first time in the summer, especially for the big guys. What difference does that make for them?
Well, it's a huge difference because you can walk through everything and you can look good,
Mhm.
and you can be in the right position and know your assignment. But you're not moving anybody. Are you playing with good leverage? Do you have power? Are your feet in good position? I think there's two positions that you really have to play the game the way it has to be played: full speed, full mental contact. I think there's two positions that can be evaluated only with full contact. That's offensive line play and running backs. You got to know if running backs have contact balance, if they have vision, if they can break tackles. You can't get that in shells. And offensive line play, you can have the greatest walkthrough periods in your life, but you know until you can move people with pads, until you move Cam Hayward off the line of scrimmage, if you're Mason McCormick, then you'll never be able to really be evaluated properly. So it's a big day for them.
And the biggest name in terms of being watched on the offensive line for the Steelers, former first round pick Broderick Jones, making that move back to his natural spot at left tackle. But throughout the first week, had a little bit of clunkiness throughout the first couple days. Was dealing with an injury. His came back out to practice, got the pads on. But Calvin Anderson having a nice day as well. So if you're the Steelers seeing Calvin Anderson play well against Alex Highsmith, how long of a leash does Broderick Jones get throughout the regular season if he doesn't, start off hot?
Well, I mean, he's got a long leash. He's a top first round pick. Calvin Anderson has traveled this league. He's been a third tackle.
Mhm.
It's a nice insurance. You give Broderick Jones the next month. Like I think he went down in 7 shots today in the first drill. I don't know if he got back out there. I wasn't sure. I saw him on the side for a little bit, but we were busy doing some TV. But this is important. Broderick Jones was drafted to be the left tackle. They let Dan Moore Jr. go
Right.
to free agency, and they moved Troy over to right tackle. So he's got they drafted him to be the future at that position. And so, when they drafted him, I think he was 20 years old. He's very young. He's had kind of an up and down start to his career in 2 years. But, he's got to settle in here. He was drafted to be their guy. And, we'll get everybody out there here soon. But, I think he's got a long leash at this.
I think that the interior of the offensive line is as good as you could want it to be. Zach Frazier cemented himself as one of the better centers in football as a rookie. Mason McCormick got in a little bit sooner than they would have expected with James Daniels going down in week 4 last year against Indianapolis. What do you make of the interior of the Steelers' offensive line going into 2025?
Well, I'm a big fan of Sam Allo. I mean, honestly,
Mhm.
that's one of the smarter players in the league. I've seen him play every position on the offensive line when he was in Philadelphia. It was a good signing by Andy Weidel and, in the front office when they brought him on board. He's dealing with a little bit of an injury cleanup right now, so he's on the side. But, he's a dependable guy. And then I nicknamed Zach last year Matt Frazier because he took everybody to the mat. He's a state wrestling champion. He's smart. He's kind of coaching Aaron Rodgers up, from what I understand right now, with some of the protections. And then Mason played well last year. Like you said, he was probably a little bit earlier than they wanted, but they left James Daniel go, and it's his so good for them. They got two rookies that came in and played last year and played well. Now it's a question of getting all the guys. Troy, played less than one game last year. Trying to get all these guys healthy and to get as many reps as possible. To get ready for the start of the season on September 7th.
Right. All right. Let's talk about the meat and potatoes of this offense. Aaron Rodgers, DK Metcalf, obviously the two big signings and whatnot. Each day that I've been in Latrobe, it's kind of been up and down for Aaron, where that was kind of expected, though. New offense, new quarterback, new number one receiver, new number two receiver, a lot of different moving parts on the offensive side of the ball. At what point, if you're a coach or if you're a player on the team, if it doesn't start to look a little bit more consistent, do you get worried about the offense going into the year?
Well, plugging Aaron in, this is not the designated hitter in baseball. Like, you just don't take Aaron Judge, out of the Yankees and plug him into another lineup and he hits home runs. I mean, this is going to take some time. There's basically no off season. I mean, maybe a week there of a couple of OTAs at the very end, but there's been very little work, and it's things, and it's new personnel, and you don't throw to stationary targets. You throw guys open. You throw with anticipation, and so I do think it's going to take some time, but I don't know how much time, and you can't panic. And Aaron's your guy. The arm is still elite, but that doesn't matter. I mean, right? What matters is, can you hit a moving target? Do you know where these guys are going to be? Do you know what the conversion routes are? Do you see things the same way? I mean, there's a reason why Devontae Adams came to New York last year in the middle of the season and played very well at the end. They knew each other better than Aaron knew anybody else on that team. And it helped him finish the season strong. And so you can throw in the park to DK Metcalf, in June and July, and that's great. And you can hang out in the dormitories at night, but nothing replaces the work that's required to build the timing with a new set of receivers.
And I think that's a big reason why they went out and made all these defensive moves as well. And we've seen a few of those at least paying off early on in camp, where Jalen Ramsey's looked incredible. What did you make of that trade, by the way? Sending away Minka Fitzpatrick, getting Jalen Ramsey and Jonnu Smith in return. We're seeing the early dividends in camp, at least with Jalen Ramsey playing pretty well.
Well, I mean, a couple things. One, like, we all love Minka, but he's got one takeaway in the last 2 years. I mean, you need more from your safety than that. Jalen is motivated by different things. He loves trying to throw a blanket on a big X receiver, DeAndre Hopkins, DK Metcalf back in the day. He loves that challenge. He's played on some great defenses. He's played on the number one defense with the Rams, won a Super Bowl. He played on the number two defense with the Jags and went to a Super Bowl. I mean, he wanted out of Miami. He got to a good place. I saw him briefly today. Slay is on the other side, Joey Porter. I mean, they've got a lot of veterans back there now. Now, they have a lot of age on them, but they have all played at a very high level. And so, you get 23 years of experience between Slay and between Jalen right now, and guys that are motivated. I think they're motivated to play well for Mike T. I think they're motivated to play for a proud organization like the Steelers. They're going to get tested in this division by a number of great receivers. There's going to be some great matchups. And so I feel like the secondary, and then any corner will tell you, Jalen, Slay, give me some elite pass rushers up front, and they have them. So I have a feeling like this might look pretty good on the back end.
And look, we're not going to have you on a Steelers show and not talk about your guy, Nick Herbig, because of everybody at the Believe Network, I think me and Phil Simms seem to be the two biggest guys that love him, but I know you do too. Tell me about what he brings to the table going into year 3. And do you think that there's a way that they can try to get Watt, Highsmith, and Herbig onto the field all at the same time more consistently?
That might be hard. They play similar positions. They're going to have Cam on there and, inside power rush. They drafted some defensive linemen. But look, Nick was the first player on the field today. All right. He was the first one on the field, and then TJ was right there afterward, and there they were for 10 minutes before anybody else got in the field working against each other. I mean, it's on Wisconsin with those two guys, and Keanu Bennett, and so, honestly, I don't want to understate this, but I've known Nick a long time. going back to his Wisconsin days, training at Lane Johnson's barn in Morristown, New Jersey, getting to know him and his brother Nate. He's literally, he said, I'm just going to follow whatever he does. I'll follow. And those two guys are pretty much inseparable. And so, what better guy to have a mentor than TJ? And so, you look at the first 2 years, and in part-time dude, he's got 6 forced fumbles. And a couple of those came against Lamar Jackson in a big win for the Steelers early last year. So he's a dependable guy. He's only getting stronger. He's got a great takeoff. You can't win the 100-meter dash without a great start. And Nick's got a great takeoff. And so he's worked on some. I saw him working on a little cross chop today, a little speed to power. I don't know that you can get Highsmith, Herbig, and TJ all on together because all edge rushers.
Right.
But all three of those guys impacting things, including the rookie from Ohio State.
And like we know what it's going to be with the Steelers, at least this brand of football that they've established for a long time. Like the defense is likely going to be very good. It's a matter of can the offense carry their end of the couch. And we saw it to an extent last year where Russell Wilson came in and they played pretty well for a few weeks and then the bottom just fell out. What's the floor in which the offense can play at that you can see them maybe ending this playoff drought and getting to the divisional round with a playoff win? What would be the floor that they have to play at?
Well, I mean, look, they finished the last 5 games of the season, including a playoff loss to Baltimore, where they were a 17-point offense. I mean, it was dreadful. You're not winning playoff games with a 17-point offense. So they've got to find ways to be more explosive on offense. They got to find a way, like they took the ball away better than any team in the league, or tied for the best in the league with 33 takeaways. You hope that if you can be at the top of the leaderboard in takeaways defensively again this year, and you give Aaron Rodgers extra at-bats, you could turn that into a 24, 28-point offense. And if you can become that type of offense, you can win playoff games, no matter who you play against, where you got to go right now.
Would you play Aaron a lot in the preseason? Because we've seen it, especially in recent years, where guys just don't play. It used to be they would at least get a drive a game and then have a dress rehearsal half in the second game. We don't even see that a ton anymore with the starters. But considering how slow it looks thus far, would you start him in a few preseason games to try to get that chemistry down so you can hit the ground running?
I would, and I would only do it, obviously, with the first offensive line. But the line is going to need work. We've got some new pieces in there, some injured guys coming back, guys that have been in and out of the lineup already. So I'd play him, but I'd play him with the number one offensive line. I remember last year with the Jets, I think he took 10 snaps against the Giants in the final preseason game. I mean, I wouldn't have any hesitation of playing him out there the second preseason game and maybe the third preseason game for an opening drive at least, just to come out of the locker room, get all the jitters out, even at his age, get work with the number one offense, get the ball to DK, just to have some success before they begin the season, just because there's just so much newness for him and this offense right now.
It's a team full of bigger names. Is there a kind of under the radar player that you like on the roster that doesn't get the flowers of a TJ Watt or an Aaron Rodgers, but you think will have a big impact on what they do in 2025?
Well, I'm excited about Peyton Wilson at middle linebacker. Him and he just has great size and speed. And when he was on the field last year, I thought he was an impactful player. I mean, you can't to Latrobe and not see a picture of Jack Lambert. I mean, they know what look like. They've had Levon Kirkland, they've had Farrier. I'm not putting Peyton Wilson in any of those categories right now. But I feel like when the Steelers have a great defense, they have a great middle linebacker and a linebacker that can run. And Peyton Wilson can run. Patrick Queen can run as well. But I feel, Wilson has his ability, I believe, to cover. I'm excited about watching him in year 2.
I remember talking to him at the Senior Bowl and in the back of my mind saying, wow, it really stinks that he's probably not going to be a Steeler because I think he's going to go probably late first round. And then he slides all the way to the third round because of the pre-existing health stuff. And they just get what I think to be like we're going to look back on the 2024 draft and say, how the hell did the Steelers get Peyton Wilson in round 3?
Well, I hope for every Steeler. And I win. But sometimes, team faulty. Mueller knows what he's doing. Andy White will know what they're doing. They know the
Right.
type of players they're looking for. It's a good front office. I walked into today. They were just breaking out of their scouting meetings. They, they just got two big defensive linemen. They know how to build a team, and they know what linebackers look like here in Pittsburgh. And so I felt like that's a guy that hopefully is going to be a long-term and long-time and impactful Steeler player.
I love it. All right, buddy. Before I let you go, ask every one of our guests this before the season starts. Final prediction for what the Steelers season will look like, and what are we talking about come February about the Pittsburgh Steelers 2025 season?
Well, I was just spent 2 days in Baltimore on Saturday and Monday, and that roster to me is better. And there is no other Lamar Jackson in this business. Now I know what he's done in the postseason, but that's why they're loading up. They're loading up to take a shot at Baltimore to knock them off. I don't think, unless Aaron gives you 17 really good games and some great games, I don't think the Steelers are ready to overtake the Ravens right now. I just don't. Now it's July 30th. Anything can happen, but that looks like a team that's going to be very difficult to contend with. But that's what you're looking at. You're looking at, that's play like a Raven, play like a Steeler. Like all those things are real. Those are always the best games of the year, Steelers and Ravens, and maybe the showdown with those teams determine who wins this division. I don't think Cincinnati defensively can compete, and I don't think Cleveland's ready for activity, of trying to knock out the Steelers or the Ravens. But I feel like it's the Ravens' division to lose this year.
Well, they would be the first team since division realignment in 2001 to win it 3 consecutive times, and we'll see how it plays out. Baldy, looking forward to seeing your coverage of the festivities of the Hall of Fame game. Safe travels. Appreciate you for giving us some
Yeah.
time today.
Yeah, my pleasure, Jarrett. Anytime.